I've got it.
All right, we are recording. Yes, this was a hard one. So today we're doing best solo debut albums and best band debut albums with the following caveats.
I don't think I followed the rules well last time. I'm that kid in the class, Dan.
Yeah, the caveats are for the solo album debuts, the person cannot have been associated with a band already that had great fame and fortune and success.
That's right. Even if their band sucked, right? And they put out records.
Yeah. Now, if they had some kind of obscure band, like, some high school band or even a moderate successful pre-band, that's okay. But it couldn't be like, let's just say what it is. It can't be any of the Beatles solo albums, as an example. So
right. Because I texted you because I was thinking Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great album.
It's a great album.
But she was in the Fugees, who were incredibly popular. And yeah, well, I heard her getting back together for a tour this year.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think she played the Prospect Park band shell one summer years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's
on the new Nas record.
Oh wow.
Which a friend of mine sent to me. It's really good. She sounds great.
Cool.
Yeah. I hope she does more stuff.
Yeah. I was crazy about both those albums, the Fugees and her album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Good stuff.
All right. So yeah, I kind of yeah. So we have caveats.
What other caveats are there? I guess for the band, the list of the bands, that other caveat wouldn't apply.
Right.
And I guess I would just say that these are our favorite debut albums, not necessarily like there's a million lists out there of the best debut albums.
I checked some of the list, and there's some great records there, and some of them I love, and other ones are like, eh. Yeah. But yeah, and so with me with these kind of things, it's always right. It's always in this moment, It's like, I'm playing this chord right now. And
right.
These are the what, 20 debut records total for each person?
Yeah, I only came up with 19. I'm afraid I could not come up with a 10th solo great album, but I did my best.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm very excited to hear yours, because on your last list, you really sent me exploring some stuff I haven't
heard.
Like that album, that soundtrack album by Marvin Gaye, Trouble Man.
Oh, Trouble Man, yeah. Did you listen to that?
I did listen to it. It's good.
It's a good record.
Good record.
Yeah, I love that record. Cool.
So thank you for that, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Some people, I thought, the timeline of when they recorded didn't necessarily translate into like an album. They might have recorded a lot of singles. They've had some compilation records, and sometimes their first record was just, a collection of singles. Right. So some people, I thought, oh, what was their first record? And I looked it up, and it was like, sometimes they didn't really have one.
Yeah, that's true. I found a few times that albums that I was 90% sure was their debut album actually wasn't. There was one before that.
Interesting.
So therefore, I couldn't use the one I wanted to as the debut album.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing what those are. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could save that for later. Well, okay. I guess I could mention one or two now.
Yeah, do it.
I can remember, actually.
It'll come to you.
One of them might have been Nick Drake. I was pretty sure that Nick Drake's debut album was the one I was thinking it was. What's that album? Now I'm blanking on the name of it. That's terrible. But anyway,
that's okay.
It's the one I thought was his debut album. I was sure of it.
Uh-huh.
Turned out that he had put out another album years before. Oh, and also James Taylor. I thought James Taylor's debut album was Sweet Baby James,
It wasn't.
but
No.
no, he has an album just called James Taylor, which has the song Something on it. The
Oh, okay. Was
first
that when
version
he
of it.
was that the Apple record? Did you do that with
Yeah,
Apple?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Ah,
funny how like you associate these albums with being people's debut albums, but they actually weren't. Oh,
yeah.
Tapestry also by Carole King.
Ah,
That was her debut solo Carole King album, but it actually isn't. There was another one.
yeah. I did that with one person, but then I realized I also loved his debut record too.
Huh.
I mistook his third record for his debut record, but then I was like,
Right.
oh well, his first record is great as well, and it
Yeah.
actually fits. So
Okay, cool. So how should we do this? Because it could end up taking a long time if we linger too long on stuff. So what do you
yeah,
think is the best
give
approach?
and we'll get a buzzer.
Okay.
Mine aren't really in any particular order. They're just like my top 10.
Do you want to do solo albums first, then bands, or just
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
all right?
You want to go? I went first last time. You want to go first this time?
Okay, mine are not in any particular order either, except my number one is a number one.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so in no
Lay it on.
particular order, uh, Tracy Chapman, her first album, 1988,
Yeah.
made my list.
It also made my list too.
Wow, outstanding.
Fast Car Revolution.
Yeah, it's a great album. I love it.
Yeah.
I still love it.
Yeah,
Totally holds up.
it does. It's a great record, and it stands out. It's an acoustic bass. She's proved herself to be an amazing songwriter right off the bat. It's like she'd been doing this for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
also I also love that right in the middle of the 80s, she puts out this like sparse singer-songwriter acoustic album.
Yep, definitely.
Right? Like totally, like that was not the era to do that. Um,
No, I think that's what helped it too in some
right
ways,
there.
because it got away from the big heavy production that was going on at the time. All the new toys everybody had, gated reverb.
Yeah, maybe she helped transition out of that a little bit because the 90s were filled with people like that.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I think there were probably some bands that kind of ushered out that, the overproduction and kind of, heralded a new era of like those are too many synths. Let's get a real horn section. Well, cool. Both on both our lists.
Great.
All right, we'll go again, I guess.
Okay, I'll go again. My second one is John Prine's solo album, 1971. His
Oh, good,
first debut album.
great choice.
Yes.
Yeah, the singing postman, right?
Yes, The Singing Postman.
Yeah,
John Prine, who unfortunately we lost this year or last year, COVID.
yeah.
But I love that. It's a great album. I love how his voice is so much different on that album than it
It
became.
is. Yeah, yeah. Because of cancer and smoking and yeah. Whew.
He just sounds like a very young man who
Yep.
still smokes, but a younger smoker. It's just got great songs on it, and it's just like
Oh yeah.
it's a perfect early 70s album.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he writes from different perspectives too, not just a guy, in his 20s
Right.
living in, Illinois or whatever, Chicago. And yeah, it's a great record.
Yep.
Yeah, he's one of those people that sets it up and you know what's going on. And yeah.
All right, your turn.
My okay, this is going back to the 50s. Little Richard, here's Little Richard.
Yeah.
I've had this record for years. It's got Tutti Frutti, Ready Teddy, Long Tall Sally, and it's just it's great.
Now, would you call that one of your examples of a debut album with like a bunch of singles on it, or was that really an album?
I think it was really an album.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got Lee Allen on it, who played sax, who later went on to play with the Blasters, one of the great American rock bands of the 80s. And it's also got Earl Palmer, who's probably one of the architects of rock and roll as the drummer.
Mhm.
Earl Palmer was one of those New Orleans drummers. And yeah, I think it's a great record. It's like, yeah, show people how it was done. And a
Nice.
lot of people were listening. The Beatles, Elvis.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So
Something to look forward
that's one of mine. I guess number 9. I guess that would be, or 2. I don't know which way are we going.
to. Yeah, yeah. Excellent. My next one is Look Sharp by Joe Jackson, 1979.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
I think it's still my favorite Joe Jackson album.
Yep.
I don't think he ever topped it. And actually, that was something I was thinking about as like a subtopic. Is like,
Mm,
are these albums the best that these people got? Like, was this their peak?
right.
At least in our opinion.
Right. Because the debut album, you have years to kind of play clubs and work the songs out, and
Yeah.
and then the second, the sophomore slump or whatever it's called.
I don't think Joe Jackson ever topped it. And I think he had great songs that came later, but I don't think
Mhm.
for me, none of his other albums are just song to song
Yeah.
perfect as Look Sharp.
It's a very sparse record. I mean,
It's a punk album almost.
it is kind of, yeah, played by a classically trained pianist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that record. Yeah, it's great. We used to do a lot of Joe Jackson covers in my first band.
Nice. And the
Yeah.
bass, I don't know who played bass on that album, but he's amazing.
I
Do you
think
know
it's Graham Maybe,
Wow, you're so good at this.
who played with Marshall Crenshaw for years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and who else did? Yeah, he's got a Burlington. I mean, he's English, but he's got a Burlington connection somehow. I think he's got friends here. Marshall Crenshaw's brother Robert used to live here. He was Marshall Crenshaw's drummer. But yeah, yeah, Graham Maybe is he's a great bass player.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
So funny side story about Joe Jackson. I once won. I called into a radio show contest once
Hmm.
to answer a trivia question,
Uh-huh.
and the prize was Joe Jackson's entire discography on LP.
Really?
Yeah, this was around 1984,
Uh-huh.
and I won, and I got to go down to the radio station and pick up this big pile of Joe Jackson albums.
Oh, nice. That's great. I saw him, I guess, on the Big World Tour,
Uh-huh.
which is also a great record. It's, Right and Wrong and
Oh yeah.
Hometown. I was in London at the time, and we saw him at Wembley Stadium, not the huge Wembley from Live Aid, but across the street, Wembley Arena. And he was great. He had a crack band, and um, yeah, he put on a great show.
Nice.
Yeah, good show, definitely.
Yep.
All right, is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
My next one is Gil Scott Herron. His first record, Small Talk, at 125th and Lenox. It's a very sparse record. It's got The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, of course, which has become iconic. It's also got Whitey on the Moon, which was kind of a lot of people talk about it as Afrofuturism in a response to, look at all these great things you're doing, but people still can't pay rent,
Yeah, they were taught that they got into that topic during that Summer of Soul.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
they did. It was his first record, which is pretty amazing. It was produced by Bob Thiel, who worked famously with John Coltrane on those Impulse records, and Duke Ellington and Sonny Rollins. And it's just vocals and percussion for the most part. It's almost like a precursor to what would come, 7 or 8 years later with, the early rap records. It's a great record. I still play it all the time.
Nice. I'll have to
Yeah.
check that one out. I'm not very familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, you're up.
What year did that come out?
I think that was 1970, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking 1970.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's got, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It's got those references that, some of them are dated, some of the things he mentions, but it still all is relevant, And he used to come to Burlington a lot too, actually. I saw him at some point, I think it probably was the 80s. He used to come a lot and play, which was a treat. All right. So that's my whatever it was. Number 3, number 7, number 3 and 7.
Okay. Uh, my next one is the debut album by one Patti Smith, Horses,
Oh,
1975.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, it just keeps getting better with every passing year, I have to say.
Mm. And Lenny Kaye's on that one, of course.
Yeah, Lenny Kaye's on that. It's just so raw, and it's just it's just fun to listen to. Also, you know, kind of artsy and dark at times, but just really cool. I think this is turned into a bad connection.
What year was that? Oh, you want to pause this?
1975. Let's see if it stays good. If it,
Okay. Am I freezing?
No, now you're okay. It was freezing before.
Okay. 75? Really?
75.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
The iconic album cover.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good one. Is that like her band? Like, does JD Doherty play drums on that one too?
I have to look up the credits on that.
Does she have like her? Because they were a pretty good unit there.
They were a good unit. Let's see. JD Doherty drums, Lenny Kaye lead guitar, Ivan Krall bass guitar.
All right.
Richard Soule piano.
Right, Richard
Also,
Soule.
John Cale played on it, or John Cale produced it.
Yep.
Robert Mapplethorpe did the photography, of course.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, made it as high as 47 on the U.S. Billboard chart. 1975.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
She's done okay.
She's done all right. Okay, what's yours? What's your next one?
You going to Nigeria?
What?
Fela Kuti's debut record.
Oh.
Fela Kuti's debut record.
You know what, Ted? I think we should restart.
You're back. Okay.
You're freezing a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me I'll end this and we'll just restart.
Okay. Should we sign off and sign back on, or?
Let's do a marker so I can edit it, okay? Okay.
Right.
All right, we're back.
We're not freezing. I'm not gonna go.
Okay, it was your turn.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
Yeah, you like that? You're like, never heard that joke before. So was it my turn?
It was your turn.
Okay, Nigeria. Fela Kuti. His debut record, Fela Fela Fela, which introduced the world to Afrobeat. Came out in 1969, which I think would have immense influence on many musicians around the world. His drummer, Tony Allen, was a great drummer and played on numerous records. I think Fela was a cultural figure as well. You know, kind of putting Nigeria on the map. So that's my pick for number 6 or whatever number I'm at.
That's 1979.
69.
1969.
Yeah.
Let me look that one up. It's called Fila Fila Fila.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to. I'm not seeing it, but I'll look for it later.
Okay.
Cool. I see Fila with Ginger Baker.
Yep. Ginger Baker recorded with him a little bit when Ginger. Did you ever see the Ginger Baker documentary?
No.
Oh, it's pretty crazy. It's really crazy. But Ginger Baker lived in Nigeria for a while and recorded with him. in his band with Tony Allen. So yeah, it's a yeah. You should check out the Ginger Baker documentary sometime.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't want to give anything away.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna dive into this a little bit. It's great. That's funny. Spotify has like everything, but it doesn't have that.
It's his first record. I have it somewhere on vinyl, actually.
First thing they have is something in 1971.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a collector's item there.
I have a few. Yeah, not many, but that may be one of them.
Right.
All right. So what you got for next one?
So my next one is this was in the running for my favorite debut album by a solo artist ever. Exile in Guyville by Liz Phair.
Oh yeah. I remember that record.
Yeah. For whatever reason, that one just it hit me in my sweet spot. Every single song was great. And the whole approach to the whole thing, it's just being so, it sounded like it was recorded in the basement.
Right.
With not even great instruments.
Yeah.
She's not a great traditional singer.
Right. Yeah.
But damn, there's some hooks on that, on those, in those choruses, and just the kind of the FU of the whole thing, has a great kind of like screw you attitude. I just love it. It's great, and I don't think she ever topped that.
Yeah,
I don't think she ever even came close personally. Although she did put an album out later that was called White Chocolate Space Egg that I liked a lot.
Oh, I don't know that.
It had some really good songs on it, but I think that is her peak.
Her peak, the first one, yeah. Brad Wood produced that. I used to travel to Chicago a lot back around that time, and a friend of mine knew a lot of the people that she was associated with, like Brad Wood, the producer. I saw her on that tour in Montreal, actually. A friend of mine was a huge fan, and he called me up while I was at work and said, "What are you doing after work?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Come with me to Montreal. We'll see Liz Phair." I was like, "Okay." So we drove up, and she played. I remember she played every song on the record, and people were, wanting the encore. And she came back and she said, "We don't know any more songs. You guys have to leave now," or something. So yeah.
Was she one of the ones that was like a notorious nervous wreck during live, like playing live, and had to get over that? I know Cat Power had that issue.
And I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if she did or not. It seemed like a good show to me, but yeah, I don't remember.
You're so good with knowing all the people who produced albums.
It's staying with me. I gotta keep. Yeah, you just gotta keep reminding myself.
That's a good database you've got there.
All right, you ready for my next one?
Do you ever forget what to buy at the grocery store because your brain is too filled up with who produced whose albums?
Sometimes, yeah, but I do lists now. I do lists. Well, I do a meal plan for the week because everyone likes to know what we're having, and then I just make my grocery list based on what we're having for food.
Oh, nice.
And what I need. So yeah, I'm a big coupon clipper too.
Okay.
Electronic coupons now.
So I could see you clipping coupons, being like, "Who produced Exile in Guyville?" Oh yeah, I remember.
Brad Wood. That's right. Yes.
All right,
I know. Look how far it's gotten me. Are you ready for my next one?
Yeah.
What's going to be my next one? Oh man. All right. Let's see. Cornett Coleman. This was the one I got confused. I originally thought The Shape of Jazz to Come was his first one, but then I thought, no, that's too late. It's gonna. And then I went and looked at my records, and it's a record called Something Else, which was the late 50s. And it kind of, I was thinking, because it ushered in this whole new like era of jazz, like free jazz, avant-garde, you know. And a lot of people didn't like it. Miles Davis didn't like it, you know. Thelonious Monk wasn't crazy about it. But it definitely, you know, got people's attention.
I remember Miles wrote about that in his I think he wrote about that a little bit in his autobiography.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting record. It's got Don Cherry plays cornet on it. Who I got to meet once actually. He played with Allen Ginsberg. I saw him in San Francisco, and Allen Ginsberg did a reading, and Don Cherry played along with him.
Really?
Yeah, it was like on a Tuesday night, you know, and it was, you know, it was a good crowd, but it wasn't, you know, packed with thousands of people. Maybe 100 people were there. And they did this whole meet and greet afterwards, and everyone was talking to Allen Ginsberg, and Don Cherry was standing by himself. So I went over and said hello. I thought it was kind of cool, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I think it kind of, you know, Cornett Coleman was trying, it was something completely new, you know. And this one, he actually has a, I can't remember who played piano, but someone played piano on this record, which he kind of ditched after that. He never really had a piano player. He had, you know, he went more electric in the 70s, you know. He had like James Blood Ulmer and some great guitar players, but never, not much piano. So and I do like the record, despite what Miles Davis has said, you know. Not that I'd want to get in an argument with Miles Davis. So
I wouldn't want to get in an argument with Miles Davis.
no.
I feel like that could get ugly.
Yeah, I know. Whatever you say, Miles. Yes, yes.
The boss. Cool, that's a good one.
Yeah, Cornett Coleman. He was either that, I was thinking Cecil Taylor too. His first record, but personally, I think I prefer the Cornett Coleman. So there you have it.
All right, all right, all right. Well, my list is starting to have a little bit of a theme to it, which is great solo debut albums by women. So far, I've got Tracy Chapman,
yeah,
Patti Smith, Liz Phair, and my next choice continues that trend.
Yes.
With the debut album by Suzanne Vega.
Oh, it's a favorite of yours, I know. Yeah, you're a big fan.
I am a huge Suzanne Vega fan.
Yep.
And this record was a very good friend of mine for a long time in my teenage years.
Oh yeah.
It was a record I went back to over and over and over again. It's got a skip on the first track that I still have, and it's locked in.
Oh yeah.
It's part of the song now.
So you can't hear it. When you hear the other versions without the skip, you're like, that's not the way it goes.
I just thought I had never really heard a combination of lyrics that interesting and intellectual with music that, like, it was basically singer-songwriter stuff, but there was an element to it that was a little different. It had a little bit of an electric sound. And whoever her guitar player uses this effect, maybe it was chorus or something, but it dominates the whole album as like the second guitar.
Oh, chorus effect on his guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives the whole album this interesting flavor that goes a little bit beyond just sort of being like an acoustic singer-songwriter thing. And love it. I just love it. I saw her a couple of years ago here in Brooklyn. She still plays a lot of songs from that album, and I was chatting with her after the show and telling her how much she means to me, and she was very sweet. And
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did she do a solo show, or was it
just her and her guitar player?
Yeah. Was it the same one from the album, or was it a different?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, that's a long relationship.
Which I knew his name. Yeah, I think she's whittled down her whole show now to just the two of them. No drummer, no bass player, just the two of them.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Like
what's that?
Like me and you.
That's right. We've whittled it down. We don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Unless one of us wants to strap a kick drum to our back. Yeah. Now she's gone in some different directions over the years. When she was she was, what was her husband's name? Mitchell Froome, the producer. She had done some more electronic kind of stuff for a while. Not totally. I mean, it wasn't like electronic, but it was like that 99.9,
Right.
which kind of had a cool feel to it.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she went a little bit into like the kind of sexy crooner kind of with that caramel.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she evolves, but she never gets too far away from her core, her core
Right.
thing.
Even the stuff she did, I think, was someone like Mitchell Froome kind of, I think he could take over records, one of those kind of producers from the 90s who kind of really put their stamp on things. But I think someone like her, it still sounds like Suzanne Vega, and it's not, there's not the Mitchell Froome stamp that is on some other, like he produced some Richard Thompson records, and it's just like it got a little too far away from,
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah, that's a good choice. Very nice choice.
Thank you.
All right, I will. This is kind of I'll go along the female route as well here with my next pick. It's not a well-known record, but when it came out, it kind of changed things in a certain part of the world. It's Umu Sangardi, who is from Mali, and her record is called Musulu. It's from 1989, and I think it was released in cassette version only when it came out, and it didn't. It sold a couple 100,000 copies, and I remember getting one. I had a friend who worked at a record store who was always like, "You need to get this. You need to go." Okay, I'll get this, and that was one of them. And she kind of took, West African pop in a different direction at that point, away from like the synths and the drum machines, and it was very stripped down. It's like acoustic instruments, like percussion instruments. And I think she, she was young too. I think when the record came out, she was maybe in her early 20s. So that's my pick for a great debut record.
Okay, I'm gonna have to write. I don't know who that is, so I'm gonna have to.
Okay, you want me to spell her name for you, or?
No, actually, I think maybe
In the
if you
chat?
could send me your list later,
Sure. Yeah.
because it was too much to quickly try to jot down, and then I'm like, I'm not looking at you, and I'm looking for things to write with, and that's not as.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. She's still going strong. So
here's our friend.
All right.
Our podcast buddy.
Jon Snow.
Yeah. What's your favorite debut album?
Cat Power.
Cat Power or Brian Setzer? Right?
Stray Cat Strut.
Yeah, it's a good song. All right, I got to do some research. I feel like my list is a little more mainstream than yours, and that's
okay.
That's yeah, but it's good for me to get to know some of these albums you're talking about. Okay, my next one is by an artist who's extremely famous and successful and popular. However, I'm not a huge fan.
Oh, interesting.
Except for this album.
Okay.
To me is still, I think it's his best album.
Yeah.
It's Billy Joel, Cold Spring Harbor.
Oh,
you know that?
Wow.
Album?
No, I don't know a lot about Billy Joel.
So personally, I don't think he ever topped this. And now if people who are Billy Joel fans would smack me across the head with a 2x4, right? And it's Glass Houses, The Stranger, all his famous albums.
Yeah.
But all of those don't do anything for me. I think they're overproduced. I think they're too poppy.
Yeah.
I actually don't love a lot of the songs.
Interesting.
But this album, which came out in 1971, is just filled with these like really sweet, sincere, beautiful songs.
Wow.
And one thing that's interesting is that the whole album was recorded and pressed at a higher speed. It was an accident.
Oh, really?
So his voice is very high,
Oh.
which for a long time I just thought was because he was younger.
Sure.
but it actually was recorded at the wrong speed.
Oh, interesting.
But man, it's just every song is just beautiful and sweet and fun. And he's got this one little like almost cowboy country song on it.
Really?
He never really went this direction again. Everything after this was kind of like big and splashy.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Except for this one album. He does have this one other album called oh man, not the Nylon Curtain, a different one. I can't remember. It also was good, but it was already starting to get a little big and splashy.
Uh-huh.
But Cold
Yeah.
Spring Harbor is just this beautiful, intimate little
I
record.
don't know that one. Yeah. I think I only know his hits, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Check it out sometime. You might get a kick out of it.
Okay.
Really different.
Yeah, definitely. Is
Yeah.
it just like him and piano? Does he have like a band?
Just him and
backing him?
piano for the most part. He does have a little band. There's bass,
Yeah.
maybe a little acoustic guitar, not much.
Uh-huh.
And he's nobody yet. He's just this kid from Long Island.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a really, really good album.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm writing it down.
Billy Joel, Cold Spring Harbor, 1971.
Man. Okay, that's a good one. Was not expecting that, but
I wasn't either. And then I remembered it and I was like, wait, I love that album.
are you ready for my next one?
Yep.
I'm going back to the 50s. And this has a little bit of a connection to Little Richard. This is Sam Cooke, his debut record. And it's got probably one of the best songs ever, You Send Me.
Yeah.
And it's got some classic song like Summertime's on that record. Moonlight in Vermont. And the connection is Earl Palmer, who played with Little Richard, also plays on this Sam Cooke record as well. And I mean, who has a better voice than Sam Cooke?
Did he? But those are some songs he didn't write, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So.
Those are like standards.
Yep. Yeah. Summertime's obviously.
But at the time, he was really known for his voice more than anything, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Started out in the gospel world and
right
crossed over, and yeah. So that's on my list. I guess that would be late 50s. That came out. I'm not exactly sure of the year for that one.
Who wrote You Send Me? Do you know?
I'd have to look that up. Good question. I wonder if it was, because I know in the Little Richard record that Little Richard wrote a lot of those songs. You Send Me. Let's see. I'm looking. Let's see. Oops. I'll keep slipping here. Okay. Sam Cooke did write it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 1957.
He died young, right?
He did, yeah. Very mysteriously.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good biography. I went through a Sam Cooke phase where I read everything I could find on Sam Cooke. Yeah, his came out in 57. He also he gave songwriting co-credit to his younger brother LC. Let's see.
And what's the name of this album that you chose? Is it just called Sam Cooke?
Yeah, it's just called Sam Cooke. Yep. Yeah. And other people have recorded it, but man, it's great.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Nat King Cole did a cover. The Drifters, the Everly Brothers. Van Morrison, Otis Redding, Sam and Dave.
Wow.
Whitney Houston, Gregory Porter, even the Dixie Chicks.
Really?
Yeah.
They are now just the Chicks, by the way.
Oh, really? They changed their name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, Sam Cooke.
All right, good one.
57.
1957. Very cool. Okay. My number two, although again this was not in order,
Hmm.
is "Closing Time" by Tom Waits.
Oh, wow. Another good one.
Now I do think he topped that album later.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. He went in
Uh,
a different direction too.
yeah,
Yeah.
very different direction. But if you just want some really gritty, not honky tonk really, but just kind of like songs about the road and
Hmm.
just country dive bar grit piano
He's
stuff
your man.
before he got really kind of
Right.
artsy and growly.
Yeah, yeah. We
Uh,
started listening to Captain Beefheart, yeah.
yeah, right. That's what changed him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what changed him. I know. Um, but yeah, it's great.
That's a good one. Wow. Yeah, see, this was hard. I had like a huge list and I had to like, yeah, that's a good one. But yeah. Are you ready for my next one?
Yeah.
This is more of a personal favorite. I'm not sure if it would make anybody's top debut records, but I just love this record when it came out. And I think I was probably the only person in my friend group to love this. This and another record. It's Diamond Life by Sade.
Yeah. I just heard somebody today in the park listening to that album.
And it's got Smooth Operator on it.
Yeah.
And when I guess that came out in, let me check my list here, 84. So I was 18. Most of my friends were ruffians, they like the Replacements and all those bands. And
Mhm.
I love this record. And a few years later, I love the Anita Baker record. I don't know. They just like they suck me in.
Yeah.
Um, it's a great production, without being too 80s. Nice songs, well constructed songs. Her voice is like, yeah,
Butter.
yeah, yeah. Winnie and I used to cover one of her songs,
Oh yeah.
"The Sweetest Taboo." Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what this person was listening to in the park.
yeah, and that's on one of her later records. But yeah,
Oh, you're right. That's not the same album.
yeah,
So one of the things that came up for me when making this list was before I get to my number one, uh,
yeah,
just doing a little build up here,
yeah.
was I had to ask myself, do you really love this album or do you think you're supposed to love it?
Mm,
That was one question I had to ask myself. And the other one was, do you really love this album or do you just love a couple of songs and that makes you think you love the album also?
uh-huh.
And that came up a couple of times, and I can't think off the top of my head which albums those were, but I had to check myself a little bit, and I was like, you know what, that would be fake, that would be phony for you to say that's one of your favorite albums.
Ah,
Really,
interesting.
you're just doing it because either you've heard so many other people say it's a great debut album,
Yeah, yeah.
or there's like one or two great songs on it. You know,
Uh-huh. Yep, yep.
oh, that came up for me as I was making the list as like a
Yeah,
little.
yeah, when I chose the Sade one, I thought this, I mean, I just, I think it's more of like a personal connection thing.
Yeah, that's what makes these lists so great.
And,
Is
and it's like, it's probably not going to be in Robert Christgau's or anybody's, you know, any of the critics list, but and people probably like her later records better, but yeah, so that, yeah,
yeah, uh, right. That's why these lists are so.
yeah. You're
It's
asking
really good.
yourself tough questions. What was your
Yeah.
first question? Your first question you asked yourself?
Am I saying I love this album just because I feel like I'm supposed to because it's on,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
comes
did
up a
that.
lot.
Yeah, right. I asked, that was one of the questions I asked myself too. And I thought, well, I don't really, I mean, it's a go okay record, but yeah.
I had to like mentally, I had to like kind of go back in my own Rolodex and think to myself, did you ever really listen to that album that much?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. So why would you put it on the list? Well, because it's got this song and that song and everybody. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you really like it, you know.
You're a tough critic on yourself.
Yeah. And then there were albums where some people really thought they were awful, but I actually thought they were pretty great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh definitely. Yeah.
Don't ever tell anybody this, but I think David Lee Roth's first solo album, Eat 'Em and Smile, is really great.
He's a showman, you know. He's a total showman, though. You know. That's
Yeah,
why.
that wouldn't count anyway with our caveat, but
No, that's true. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, if you like it, you like it. Yeah, there's definitely records that I like that I didn't tell anybody that I liked or I had. That was one of them. The Anita Baker record, some other records, I'm sure, like, you know, wasn't cool enough or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Luckily in the 80s, you could kind of like anything, and there was a genre, there was like a
Yeah.
category for you.
Yeah. I think people's listening tastes seem to be more open to, you know, diversification. I think
Yeah.
in the 80s, people like, oh, I like punk, or I like hardcore. I like, you know,
Right.
the kind of you know, John Hyatt, John Mellencamp sound or whatever, you know. And I think people strayed from that, but they didn't talk about it as much as they do now, you know,
Right.
with people's Spotify lists and everything, you know. So
All right, ready for my number one?
yeah, we're down to number one. All right, let's do it.
Now this really was my number one. Like
Oh,
this really would have been number one. It's probably a little cliche. I'm sure this comes up on a lot of lists as number one.
yeah.
Nevertheless,
I wonder if it's my number one.
it is and remains, I think, the greatest number one album by a solo artist of all time,
Yeah,
according to me.
according to you.
And that is, of course, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey, by the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
What year did that come out?
That came out in 1972.
Uh-huh.
And this was when he was still in his, you know, very, very deep in his urban poet phase, I call it.
Mm.
Just writing about characters in the New York City streets with great melodies and great storytelling, and just that raw thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
he really only stayed in that sort of urban poet persona for maybe one or two more albums.
Yep.
And then he started shifting to this kind of like heartland rocker thing.
Mm. Right.
I didn't like the heartland rocker Bruce as much as the urban poet Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Greetings
Right.
is like the pinnacle of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so that's my number one choice.
Nice one. Well, good one. I was wondering if my number one choice was My Aim Is True, Elvis Costello.
Yeah, that almost made my list. I don't know why I didn't.
Just because it was, you look at the collection of songs on that record, and it's, I mean, for a debut record, it's pretty amazing.
Tell me some of the songs.
Allison, Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes, Less Than Zero, Mystery Dance, Waiting for the End of the World. Watching the Detectives, I don't think was on the UK release. I think it was released as a single. But it might have, you know, how the UK and the US releases were different back then.
Yeah.
So
what
I think
year is that? 80 what? Or 79?
77.
Wow, 77.
Yeah. So it's kind of got a pub rock feel to it. It doesn't have the attractions on it, except for Steve Neve, I think, right? Let me double check. It's got with that band Clover or whatever.
Oh, right, Clover, yeah.
The American guys.
Yeah.
Well, Nick Lowe plays on it.
Is that the band that Huey Lewis was in?
Yeah, yeah. But I know on Watching the Detectives, I think it was Graham Parker's rhythm section who played on that. Who was also, you know, very close, like Joe Jackson, Elvis Costello,
Right.
Graham Parker. Yeah, they kind of all traveled in the same kind of musical circle there at the time.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and put that on my list, actually, because remember I said I only had 9?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make that
Oh, well, 9. I didn't even number mine. I just have a bunch of names and records written down here.
Oh, I mean, I don't have them numbered
Oh,
either, but I'm counting, and I
oh okay. Yep.
thought that I had 9, so um, now I have 10.
All right.
I think the reason I didn't put it on there was because I didn't have that album
Mm-hmm.
growing up. I got to know all of his songs through that first greatest hits that they put out of his.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we had the other one. What's the one with the like the splattered paint on the cover, and you turn it over and it's got the elephants?
Oh, Armed Forces? Is that what?
Armed Forces, yeah.
Yeah.
So we didn't have My Aim Is True in the house, so that's why I didn't put it on the list, because it wasn't really part of my life until much later.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, all those songs were on that greatest hits album, which is, whatever.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is.
Right. Right. It's a great record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that made my list. Yeah. I had the record in middle school. We saw, my friends and I had seen Elvis Costello on some, I don't think it was the Saturday Night Live one, but maybe it was another show we saw him on. And we were all fascinated with him, like late 70s in Vermont. Who is this guy? What is he doing? Why is he dressed like that?
Yeah.
Why is he wearing Buddy Holly glasses?
Yeah.
So all right.
Good list. I don't know. Should we save the band one for another podcast?
I think so. Yeah. I think we're running over time here.
Yeah, I think this will be a long listen if we don't do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Although I'm excited. I'd love to do it right now, but I feel like to give it its due,
Yeah.
we're gonna want to talk about the albums.
That's true. Yeah, we'll do a 2-parter.
Yeah, this will be a 2-parter.
Yeah, a Netflix series.
Like Rocky 1 and 2. It's really just one movie. Think about it.
That's right. Oh man, that's a good one. I like that. The band one I had a hard time with too. I just had not coming up with records, but like narrowing it down a bit and asking myself those questions,
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't think either of us had an album that came out after 1990 on that list just now.
No, I know. I was thinking that too. It's like I'm showing my age with both of these lists.
Well, but there's 2 ways to look at that. One, it could be our age, but also it could be maybe it's just what it is. Like,
yeah,
like I don't know. Maybe it is because we're older and we just maybe the music that's come out more recently doesn't appeal to us. But I couldn't think of anything. I actually went through lists of like great solo albums, 1995 or actually 2000 forward.
Yeah.
And nothing really jumped out at me. Oh, Ted, I left off I'm sorry, I left off one.
What's
somehow I put it onto my band's list, but it shouldn't be there. So I'm sorry, I have to take My Aim Is True off and replace it with this one. Grace by Jeff Buckley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
for me is actually a more important and special album than My Aim Is True. Nothing to take away, not to take anything away from My Aim Is True, but based on what I told you before about the fact that we didn't have it, I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Whereas Grace was really formative for me in the 1990s. Like, it shaped me in a lot of ways. And I just think it's an amazing, ridiculous, amazing album. What a talent he was. And those songs are just heartbreaking. And the production is ridiculous. It sounds like in 1 minute he sounds like Led Zeppelin, and then he sounds like some haunting, like a ghost in your attic, kind of just wailing at the moon.
Yeah.
So yeah, Grace by Jeff Buckley. I have to. I don't know why I was on the wrong list, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your list.
But anyway, getting back to that other conversation, when I started looking at stuff 2000 forward, now granted, I'm not a big fan of the genre that's kind of taken off in those years, which is like hip hop and dance, like pop dance and R&B and all that stuff. So like,
Mhm.
I don't know, Lady Gaga's first album, maybe it's amazing. You know, a million artists, maybe their first album is amazing. I don't know. That genre doesn't really connect with me. So,
Right. Yeah, sure.
you know,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I always attribute it to age and having like kids who are teenagers and 20 somethings. It's like it feels like that's their music, you know?
right.
And I'm always asking them, is this good? Why is this good? Okay. All right, okay. You know. So yeah, I guess yeah, it's just part of getting, generational thing as well.
One album that falls in those years that I think is amazing is Amy Winehouse, Back to Black, but that was not her first album,
Okay.
so I couldn't put that on there.
Ah,
But if it had been, that would have made my list. Actually, I think that's a great album.
nice. Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm looking at so I have some old records on there too. 89, 77, 57, 69, 70. Yeah.
And I know there's some really great and important albums that have come out, of more recent vintage. But again, I couldn't just pretend
Right.
those were one of my favorite albums just because I know that they're really important,
Yeah.
meaningful, and so forth.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, I think it's like even sometimes a record hits you when it comes out and you're younger and you haven't heard anything like that before, because you're 16, 15, whatever.
Yeah.
And you hear it and you're like, wow, what is this? And then as you get older and you've heard a lot of stuff and things don't surprise you as much anymore. I think that plays a factor in it as well. And also when I was younger, Lisa, probably still, I'm always looking for music. And sometimes I go backwards, looking at stuff, or I go to different places in the world, that
Yeah.
that are, I mean, there's music everywhere in the world.
Right.
And so
I do need to get a little bit more global in my
yeah,
my music uh, knowledge base. But
my
that's good.
friend,
That's a good goal for me.
yeah, I think it's yeah. There's so much stuff out there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost intimidating on some level. Where do you start?
So, can you think of maybe two albums that you thought you were going to be able to put on there, and then you realized it wasn't their debut album?
Well, the Cornett Coleman was one.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about was I was thinking of like these records that I have. Like I have a Billie Holiday record that's like it's like her first record. She put out tons of singles, in the 30s and 40s. And then like this record came out called Billie Holiday Sings. And I have it as part of, like it was like and then there's like another record like Billie Holiday Live or something, so it's two records, it's like a double record. But I thought, okay, it's her first record, but she put out records for like, probably 15 years before that. Just
Yeah.
singles though,
Yeah.
and they're not the first album she put out. It's like, I mean, there's like Ray Brown is on it, and I think Oscar Peterson. And it's great, but so I didn't know what. Oh, I'm coughing. I think I need water.
Yeah. That's okay. We should. I
Yeah.
guess we should wrap up. So one of the ones that I really wanted to put was Bjork debut,
Uh-huh. Yep.
but she was in the Sugar Cubes, and that was a pretty successful band.
Oh yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
I couldn't really do it.
No, I was the same way with Lauryn Hill,
Right.
because we played that record endlessly when Charlotte was a baby. I guess it came out in 98.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of our favorite records.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So next time we meet, it'll be the best debut band albums.
Yes.
Our favorites, rather, not the best.
Right.
That's subjective. So
That's right. A collection of debut records by bands
um,
that we particularly enjoy.